It's Happy Hour again from Central City, New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network itsneworleans.com, brought to you today by the Pearl Wine Company at 3700 Orleans Avenue and the American Can Company. They're open every day from noon till midnight, except Sundays when they're open from noon till 8 p.m. And by Petite Pet Care, dog walking and pet sitting, loving care when you're not there. For more information, you can find out about Petite Pet Care at petitepetcare.com or 300-9-PET. And also, if you're an iPhone user, check out the podcast app Swell. It's new, it's fabulous, it's the Pandora of podcasting, and you can find us on there as well. If you haven't seen it yet, go find it. It's called the Swell app. Hey, when you walk into a bar in New Orleans and pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you, especially if you look around this table here. What you do know is no matter what they look like and what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar. In this case, we're at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard in Central City. Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard has been tagged with given $1 million by the city to be revamped. These 10 blocks that we're sitting in, so come on down. You won't recognize it in about 25 years, probably.
That's wonderful, because this was Dryads, right? And it was very, very popular back in the day.
It was. This was actually Dryad Street that they changed the name to Aretha Castle Haley.
Yeah. She was a civil rights activist back in the 50s
Dryads
and 60s.
was, or Aretha Castle Haley was?
Well, Dryads was Greek, but...
Dryads was Greek?
Yeah, I believe so, yes. But Aretha Castle Haley
who was Dryads?
Well, Dryads, Naiads, and all that. These were the nymphs, I believe.
Yeah.
Britannia is also one of the nymphs.
It was a nymph.
Creature.
Yeah. Water nymphs.
What did they do, water nymphs? Do you happen to know that?
Something aquatic.
They swim.
Hence the word water, or nymph.
The private pool party that we're not invited to.
These guys are all writers here. Let me introduce you to our guests here. Paige, Bernhardt, and Nancylee, Myatt are sitting across from me. They are screenwriters who live in New Orleans, but whose work is seen around the world. Nancylee is an Emmy-nominated screenwriter who started out working on the hit series Night Court. You can't be that old, Troy.
Emmy winning.
Oh, my
I
God.
actually won one of those things.
Which, really? You won an Emmy?
Yeah.
Not nominated, Emmy winning?
Yeah.
Oh, let me start that again. Nancylee is an Emmy-winning screenwriter. What did you win an Emmy for?
Well, I just brought it with me. Let me pull
You
it.
have it? Come on, get it
I
out.
never leave home without it. I actually won it for an animated show, a Disney show called Teacher's Pet.
Really?
And, kids show.
Wow, congratulations. How long ago was that? 100 years?
About
100 years ago.
Yeah. No, it was 2001, I believe.
Oh, that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, that must be a great feeling to win an Emmy. There
I'll
can't
tell
be
you, it's a
that many
great feeling for everybody who walks in the house and wants their picture taken with it.
Yeah.
Really? That's the main thing?
That's the thing.
Yeah,
You must have been excited the night you won an Emmy.
You know what? I actually didn't go to the Emmys that night. Let me finish. I had the show had wrapped. We were not working at that point in time, which is usually the case. You know, you put it out, especially with animation. It happens way in advance, and then later it shows up. I had an opportunity to go home and see my parents, who lived in Oklahoma. I was in California at the time, and it was important for me to be with them that night. So I was there, and we'd gone out to one of their favorite restaurants, and they had a bunch of friends around. So they basically threw an Emmy party for me. And it was kind of great because I called my agent and I said, well, did I get it? And he said, yeah, you got one. And so they threw a big party for me, and I could not have been in a better place.
Well, that is a very touching little story, I must say. Are your parents still with us?
They're not. So
that
that
was
makes
a good
it even
thing.
more
Now
special.
you have it. Now you have
Absolutely.
a great memory. Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
It's a really nice story. I'll finish reading with this little paragraph.
It makes me sound so nice. Okay, let me get the
It
cocktails
really
rolling
does.
here, and then
I'm
things
sure
will shake up a little bit.
Did you write that, or did that really happen?
It did happen.
It actually happened.
Exactly
wow.
that way.
Nancylee also wrote and produced Living Single, for which she won an NAACP award. Hey, well, that's wild. And has a list of impressive credits, too numerous to list here. Nancylee's most recent work is a teen pilot for the ABC network called Cupidity, which she's created with Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, the Karate Kid.
The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
How'd you meet the Karate Kid? I'm never going to get through these introductions. You guys don't mind just drinking it?
I was writing and directing and producing a show that Paige was also writing and producing on called South of Nowhere, which was a little groundbreaking show on one of the Nickelodeon networks, MTV networks. And Ralph was going to direct one of the episodes. So he came down to the set, which was actually being shot at a youth facility, correctional facility.
Yeah, decommissioned.
Yeah, out in
Whittier,
Whittier, California. It was
Fred
terrible.
Senell's.
It was really, we went to work
was
at a
awful.
prison every day. It was crazy. Quite
and they
literally.
didn't mow anything. It was just all buggy and crazy.
That's the show, behind the show, actually. So he came down to the set to sort of walk around and meet everybody and meet me, and we just really sort of hit it off. We just sort of had the same sort of experience in the way that we wanted to tell young adult shows, and he had been raised in front of the camera. He's the most perfect person to direct and co-write, and
he looks like a teen idol in real life. He just really
he looks the same. I don't
He's
know
like
what deal he's made with the devil, but he
75
looks
or something,
awesome.
and he looks
he's
like
not
he's about
75.
What happens
he's
when you
like
hang out with a
16.
Karate Kid? Does everybody want to talk to him? And
They do.
recognize him?
Well, they do. He gets a lot of people doing the crane when he walks by, and
my
there are a lot
God.
of like wax on men yelling
he's
at him
so
from
nice.
the curb and
But
stuff.
he has some
Sweep the
people
leg,
say-
Johnny.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
See, you're the guy right there. You're
I'm
the guy.
that guy, yeah.
And every once in a while, they think he's somebody else.
Scott
You know,
Baio.
Scott Baio or somebody like
Yeah.
that. But
Oh,
anyway,
yes, no, he's famous, but you don't know where you know him
that's
from.
right. But anyway, we turned out to be great partners. We sold 3 pilots together ultimately, and this one did not get made. We found out, but I think Ralph and I will find something else to do. He's terrific.
Well, you should. Has he come to visit you down here?
He is not,
Not
and he
yet.
You need to
should.
drag him down because he'd be a good guest on Happy
His,
Hour.
I
The
know.
Karate Kid.
You'd
Yeah.
love
He
him.
can stay at
Yeah.
my
Reid
house.
back on.
You'd love him. He's
Yeah.
awesome. We're trying to get his kid
Really
to
nice
go to
guy.
Tulane, so that might change the.
He's got a kid
the
old enough to
scenario.
go to Tulane.
He
Oh, yeah.
does. Named Daniel. Danielson.
Danielson. Really nice family.
Okay.
Not kidding.
I'm glad you
Well.
told us that. Paige is back as well. Paige Bernhardt is making a brave return to Happy Hour after her previous appearance with comedian Tony Clifton, which went much better than we expected.
Yes.
He wasn't mean to you at all. I thought he was going to rip you
Wasn't.
into little pieces, but he was
I thought
super
so,
nice,
too.
actually.
He was super nice. Yes.
Paige has got an
good
equally
show.
bunch of impressive-looking TV writing credits, including comedies, Two Guys and a Girl, Yes Dear, and What About Joan with Joan Cusack, as well as, of course, the
South of Nowhere.
cult hit that we we're just talking about,
Yep.
South of Nowhere. Now together, listen to this. Paige and Nancylee are the creators of Nikki and Nora, a web TV series about lesbian cops that started out as a pilot for network TV. When the network decided it was too hot for their primetime audience, the show got leaked onto the internet, where it has become the most watched non-transmitted TV pilot in history ever.
It's nuts.
The show's huge following of fans have raised enough cash on Indiegogo to turn it into a web series called the N&N Files,
Yeah.
which the first episode's come out yet?
Yeah.
We're on episode 5 right now.
5. Oh, okay.
Five
So
of
it's right.
7.
And what's it
7.
on? It's on this like Tallow TV or something.
Tellofilms.com.
Tallow Films, which is like hello with a T.
Exactly.
T-E-L-O. And
Yeah.
it's,
Or
is
Jello.
Is it on that OML thing you told us about
Yes.
last?
One
OML.com.
more lesbian.
One
Just
more
one.
lesbian.com.
Because
Just
we
one.
just need one more.
One more
That's all we need.
lesbian.com.
Two
and,
more, it would be
And like the
Tips
TV
the boat.
cops, Nikki and Nora, Nancylee and Paige are a couple themselves, and they got married in California at the end of
We
2013.
did.
We did.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
We've
you.
got a lot to
Thank
talk
you.
about just from that little page of information alone.
Well, I feel like our turn's done. We need
And
to.
You're- you-
I'm
you-
feeling
Give it up.
really unaccomplished on this side of the table.
Are
I'm
you
just gonna
guys
throw that out there.
legally married in Louisiana? We'll get onto that in a minute.
don't
We're
think
gonna
so.
We'll discuss that
We'll
later.
talk politics
We'll
right
do
now
it,
because
yeah.
Drew Ward is with us. Hello, Drew.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, wonderful. I have a cocktail.
There you go. Drew Ward is a linguist, a writer, an editor, a language education consultant, and a corporate trainer. He's also the great-great-great-grandson of the first elected Republican governor of Louisiana, James Madison Wells.
How about that?
Well, who knew that?
Wow.
Which may prove there is such a thing as political genetics, because Drew is the lone Republican candidate in the upcoming city council race. Drew is running for City Council District A on a platform that will ensure his success. When elected, Drew Ward promises to cut your taxes and utility bills in half. Dude, are you
you
serious?
in my
Do
district?
you really?
Are you?
I'm more thinking that my marketing guy wrote that. That's great.
That's what is that not true? Are you going to tell me that's
oh no,
not true?
it's true actually. Yeah.
You're going to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care. I don't care if you win or lose. I just want
Yeah.
you to tell me how am I going to cut my.
Well,
probably-
it's pretty
my-
straightforward.
When you say tax, you mean property tax.
Well, New Orleans and I think maybe New York City are the only 2 cities in the country that regulate their own utilities. Normally, in most states and here in Louisiana, you have the Public Service Commission. That's an elected body that's sole regulatory authority over electricity, phone, sometimes railroads, things like that. In New Orleans, though, it's a little bit different, like everything else in New Orleans. So the city council is your regulatory authority. And unfortunately, while they do have the potential to really work with companies to make sure we have the lowest utility rates possible for our residents, we do have fairly low rates compared to most people in the country, but not in contrast to our income levels here. They use it instead as a revenue stream, so
The
that
city is making money on
they are making
on
money.
my Entergy bill.
They're making money on everybody's energy bill,
Good to
and
know.
it's quite a bit actually when you add up the
How much is the city getting out of? What percentage of my energy bill is going to the city's coffers?
a good amount. The
Okay, how much?
core
What percent?
franchise fee agreement with the Entergy they have reads that Entergy will pay the city of New Orleans 5% of their revenues in exchange for, quote, the rights and privileges to use the roadways and bridges of Orleans Parish. So in other words, when you see a car
5%.
riding around here that says Entergy on it, we're paying for that to be on there. It all equates when you add Entergy, Cox, AT&T all together, add in your consulting fees, your lawyer fees, your taxes and service charges they get on top of that as well. These are all things beyond and above the cost of producing the utilities, delivering them to you, providing service and all that. You're looking at about $100 million a year. It varies, of course, depending on how profitable things are, but about $100 million a year on average, about 8% of the city's operating budget. And that equates down, when you divide it by, with Entergy, it's 165,000 ratepayers, so it gets down a pretty good amount. When you add all this stuff together, things like the sewage, water board, all that together, and all the extra here, we're talking $300 to $500 a month for most households. So that's per household, per small business. Obviously, the bigger your business, the more. But the bad part is because it's divided per account. There's no filter for whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor, whether you use more, use less. So this, if anybody's ever had a double and you combine meters together, it's that $100 you save when you combine a meter on electricity, or the 50 when you combine the gas together and all that.
Are you saying there's only 165,000 people paying Entergy bills and
165,000 ratepayers it calls. So that's going
a
to be an
ratepayer.
account. Well,
That's the person who's got an account with Entergy.
exactly.
There's only
so that-
165,000 people.
Yeah.
And we're generating the 165,000 of us. How many of you've got electricity? You've got a shared electricity bill. You guys live
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
You've got one. You've got Douglas, our photographer. You've got an electricity bill. Okay. Chris has got one. There was like how many people? Six. There's a couple of people over here. Hugo's probably got a couple of meters.
This
That's
place
about
we're
10
in.
people here.
Right.
So there's only another 100 and something thousand.
Yeah. And you figure also when...
And we're paying $100 million.
Yeah, no, that's all of them combined together, the different utilities. But yeah.
I'm paying $300 to $500 a month to the city through Entergy. Are you serious?
Well, you're
Why-
paying...
Why are you the first
Yeah.
person to have come up with this figure?
And why do our streets look like such crap?
Why don't we have enough cops?
Actually, the streets
Yeah.
look like crap because of environmental reasons, but that have to do with the way we built things. I can tell you that a little bit later, but as far as the money goes, that's only half of it. That's $300 to $500.
Okay, we'll get to the other half in a
Yeah.
minute. Hold on to that because I want to introduce Reid as well.
Yeah.
Reid Stone is here. Reid was a candidate for District A for the same seat that you're running for, actually, Drew, but he withdrew to support Drew Ward.
Hey.
What a,
How about it?
and now you
scary,
guys are
right?
working together.
Suck
Reid is
it.
CEO and Chief Strategist for Hero Farm, a socially conscious marketing and design agency whose slogan is "Do great work for good people."
Yep.
Have you
Nice.
found any good people?
Occasionally we find a few.
It'd be awesome if you found a good person. You could tell us who that is, maybe a little
Get
later
him
in
on
the
the
show.
show.
Write them a letter.
That is so. So you're working with Drew now.
Working with Drew.
So you wrote this stuff that he didn't even know that I
I
had
did,
in
and I
front of
noticed
me.
like
Good
how
job.
much bigger his bio is than mine, and I'm kind of feeling a little jealous here.
Well, you want to add anything to it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, you can add one more
Can,
look,
can
you've
the
got-
writers do it though?
Yeah, have those Emmy-winning screenwriters can write it for you. Chris Lee, the musician, is going to be here in just a little while. He's coming from a photo shoot. Andrew Duhon is at the Grammys still, hoping that his album The Moorings, which is nominated for a Grammy, is going to win one.
Oh, wow.
If you,
Great.
whether it wins or not, it's an
Good
awesome
energy.
album. It's called The Moorings by Andrew Duhon. Go check it out at andrewduhon.com. And now, good news, I have a bottle of wine for you all. Check this out. Who's going to pour? Who knows something about wine around here? Reid, you look like a man with.
Paige does.
No,
Paige,
I
you're a
don't
wine
very
person?
much. I don't know anything about
You know how to pour it?
Macedonian. Sure. I
Okay,
can
we'll
do
pour that, and I'm going to tell you where it comes from and what it is. The Pearl Wine Company gave us this bottle of wine today. Pearl Wine Company is at 3700 Orleans Avenue in the American Can Company building. I told you this, that they're open from noon till midnight every day, and on Sundays they're open from noon till 8. They've got the largest selection of small production wine, beer, and liquor in New Orleans. They've got this hand-picked selection of stuff that you can go in and buy. Have you guys been in there? It's a great
No.
place.
Where
It's
is
not.
it? Tell me where it is.
It's in the American Can Company in Mid-City.
Oh yeah.
It's really great. They have you can go in there and have a drink or listen to music. They have cool music most nights, and they also have like basically a store where you can go, buy wine and.
I
and
hear stores sell
stuff.
things often.
What's that?
At stores, I hear they sell things
They
often.
do, well, hopefully they do. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. But I think you're
thing
onto
called
something there.
commerce,
If they could all just
isn't
give
it?
us 9% of
Commerce.
everything they sell,
Yeah.
you're going to find a great bunch of stuff there. And go tell them that you heard it here on Happy Hour, and they'll give you $1,000 off whatever you buy.
This is Macedonian wine.
Is this wine is called Tikves, Tikves. It's a beautiful red from Macedonia that's fruit forward and has an earthy finish. See if you agree with me. Try this. See what you think of it.
I know a lot of guys who are fruit forward.
It's made by two
So do I.
famous winemakers from France, and the retail price is only Okay, tell me what you think you'd pay for this wine.
I want to smell.
See what you think, Drew. You look like a serious wine aficionado.
It's good actually. when I was living in Europe, actually, Macedonian and Bulgarian wines were getting a big thing over there. And, of course, the price point's really low, but the quality is really good, too. And this is it's just a good drinking wine, a good table wine. And I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure, but these wines like this, they can be anywhere from $10 to $20, but even lower sometimes. And the thing is that it's all about the flavor.
Right.
So
What do
you're
you
not
think?
paying for it.
Paige, what do you think? You like it?
The bouquet is really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like it's very rich.
It's fruit forward.
Yes.
I'm digging it.
Nancylee, you
that.
like
I really
it?
like that.
Got a little spice going there. It's good.
I'm going to go with
It's delicious.
$24.99. I feel like the
$24.99.
price is right.
Okay.
What we're supposed to guess.
This is from the
How much are they paying
marketing
you?
specialist. How much are they paying us? We'll have to ask Lisa, our
I'm gonna
salesperson,
say,
how
I'm
much
going
they're
to say
paying.
less than that. I'm going to say $17.99.
$17.99. Okay, Nancy,
I'm,
you last
I'm going
call.
less. I'm going $12.95.
Yeah.
Not because
Oh.
of its taste.
That's where I was on it, too, yeah.
Yeah?
So-
Very good. $12.49.
Right.
man.
It's a $12 bottle of wine that tastes like a $25.
Well, it's
There you
gonna
go.
it's gonna go up. You see, I'm
That's it,
figuring
that's
this is
it.
where
This is
we're
where it's
setting the
going.
This
price
is where
for it
that
right
marketing
now. That's right.
psychology comes in. I set the anchor
Yeah.
price, and
You
then,
did.
oh, what a deal, what a value.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal.
Well, you're the marketer. You know that.
Nice work,
You're looking
man.
over my shoulder and saw the real price there. So there
it's
you go.
It's
from
one of those
thanks-
dangerous wines, though, because it's so it's so free flowing as you drink it that you can.
You can knock a whole bottle of that off,
Pretty
no
much,
trouble. Well,
yeah.
we have plenty of it, so help
How long is
yourself.
this show again?
Well, we can sit here as long as it takes to drink the whole case.
All right.
Thank you very much to the Pearl Wine Company and the American Can Company building for supplying us with this. Okay, so where am I going to start? Should we go back to politics, or
Yeah, go to politics.
let's go to politics,
Wait,
and then we'll
before
get back to
loves
lesbian
that.
politics.
Before we get to
finish that.
politics,
'Cause I
yeah,
have so many
I've got a
questions.
You'd
question here.
rather talk about lesbians?
Well, kind of all together
I
because
wouldn't.
Everybody.
just because of this background here,
Yeah.
I've just got to know the opinion on an idea. Reno 911, but with French Quarter and Mississippi gays. I can just see the trashiness of it right there. Traffic training
You're pitching
school.
a show right
Are you
now?
Yeah,
pitching
I
a
think
show
I
to
just
us right
did.
now? You know
Tra-
what?
that's it,
Actually,
traffic
That's
training
kinda
school.
awesome.
Actually,
yeah.
we're buds with
Yeah.
the guy that played Junior with
you go.
Ben
Oh,
Garrett.
he's
There you
such a
go.
good guy.
Real good friend
Yeah.
of ours.
He
Directed
married a
episodes
really
of our
This is
shows.
New Orleans.
friend of ours.
We could have Miss Ashley's traffic training school.
Oh,
you know,
man.
we could have cops, but in northern Mississippi, turtlenecks. It's
You know
I
what?
can see it.
We'll give Ben a call. See what
Okay.
he has to say.
How often do people hit you up with ideas when they find out that you're
Every time we tell them we're writers.
every time?
Well, but usually
I
it
don't
goes
do when I
something like
travel
this.
anymore.
It's like, I've got a great idea. It's a taxi driver who says, I got a great idea for a show. It's in a taxi company. Actually, that was a great idea for a show.
Right.
You're right, it
Yeah.
was. Or you just can't tell anyone, especially on a long flight. It's really dangerous
that's not a
because
good idea.
everybody's
Yeah.
workplace is a comedy or everybody's
The
comedy. And I'm not saying
podiatrist wants
there
to do a foot
isn't,
show.
but go do it.
Right.
Well,
You know,
then,
it's
but no one's a screenwriter.
difficult.
I mean, they're not screenwriters. It would be like, I've got a great idea to, to
And as,
design a chair.
as soon
but I
as you
wouldn't have-
engage in this conversation, they want to know how they're going to, be
How
the
they get-
producer
how-
on it, and
yeah,
how they're going to
right.
be a part of it. And
Well, have you ever heard one good idea in your whole life from someone
I've
else?
heard lots of great
Oh,
ideas.
sure.
I mean, from
Amazing
from someone you
ideas.
don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
Really? And have you
Yeah.
stolen them and made them into successful?
No. No, absolutely
What do
not.
you do?
No.
You just say, okay, I'm sorry, I can't do anything with that, even
mean,
though it's the best
actually,
idea I've ever
You know,
heard.
and actually,
There-
there's kind of very few absolutely unique ideas. There's
Right.
always sort of a
Right.
version of it out there, or something that has already sort of been
Yeah.
on your plate, and it's.
But you
it's
do,
never
as a writer,
wildly
when you're a
unique.
professional writer, you do protect yourself against that. If you have a show going like well, actually we do now, and you have people who want to send you ideas for your show, you have to either not read them at all, or even fan fiction. In
Yeah,
our
we
case,
don't read fan fiction
or
at
you have
all.
them sign a release, which is just a big pain in the butt. So usually it's just you don't read
We
them
don't
at
read
all.
unsolicited material at all.
How can you, so in case somebody sues you and says, hey, I came up with that
Right.
idea and you
That's
put
exactly
it in,
right.
you put it
yeah.
in your
yeah,
And
sadly,
we,
Lesbian
that's
talk
we
show.
true.
register everything we write
Yeah.
through the Writers Guild. for
Which
that
anybody
reason.
can.
Right.
Anybody,
Or copyright,
if you're
anybody
not
can do
a
that.
if you're not a Writers Guild member, you can go to the Writers Guild. And register.
WGA.org
Yep.
Yeah.
and register it right now.
Yep.
It costs you like
What-
$20 or something.
What are you guys working on? This is that you're talking about the N&N files you're working on now.
Yeah, Nikki and Nora.
Nikki
we
and Nora.
actually got the
What-
original title back.
Oh, you
so we
did.
are
So now
Nikki
it's
and
called
Nora.
Nikki Nora.
Yeah.
N-I-K-K-I.
Ampersand
Ampersand Nora.
Yeah, and it was originally supposed to be the homage to the Nick and Nora Thin Man movies, which was a couple living in Manhattan, and they were solving crimes, and they were going from bar to bar, and they were having cocktails, and they were living large, and it was a little, light mystery show, which we all grew up on a lot of those shows. Castle, I think, is a good example of one that's on the air right
But
now.
back
which
in
is
the day,
great.
Heart to Heart,
Yeah,
and
all that
fun
stuff.
stuff like that.
Is it
Nobody's
set here,
gonna-
or
It is set
Yeah.
here, and it was originally the original pilot was shot here in 2004, and the network that it was a Warner Brothers CBS UPN show, and it had been written like the version we're doing now, but they wanted their version of a hard cop show, so we turned them into New Orleans cops. The show got a little darker. It didn't get picked up, but and Paige told the story, I think, last time she was here.
And it didn't get picked up, I think, because of the lesbian premise. Because in 04, the climate was a little bit more conservative.
W was in
with
office.
W in office,
Right.
and the FCC was like the Janet Jackson year where that happened.
Wardrobe malfunction, that's
yes.
right.
And
Coming up
Howard
on the 10-year
Stern was
anniversary.
That's
yeah,
Random
right?
factoid there.
No,
you
that's
go.
exactly
Oh,
right.
Yeah, it's true. And Howard Stern was acting up, so
A lot
again,
of fines were being paid, and it was just a tough time, especially
weren't
for
ready to take
CBS.
risks at
They
that-
had taken a
at
lot of
that
hits
point,
that year.
yeah.
So,
But it
when
leaked.
What happened when Les Moonves, who was and still is the president of CBS, he called and said, if W gets reelected, we're not going to pick up your show.
And he
said
really
the climate,
liked
and
the
it was one of
show.
his favorite shows, and I
Good
believe
show.
that he loved the actresses
Yeah.
that were in it. He was really rooting for the show. Again, it's all advertiser based. If you're talking about network television,
Couldn't you have assassinated W?
We didn't
Really?
think of
Didn't you
that.
have weapons?
Dang
But
it.
literally the day after he got elected, I got the call and he said, we can't pick up your show.
Yeah.
And I was mentored by Norman Lear early in my career, and he always said, if they're hating you, they're watching you.
That's
Right.
Right.
And that
exactly right.
controversy is the time you want to sort of spring on that. So it was a little disappointing for us, but he said, go with God, and if you want to try to set it up somewhere else. So we pressed DVDs, and our reps and Warner Brothers sent them out to other networks and studios. It did
And,
not get picked up,
yeah.
and then
But somebody
started
somebody's assistant
leaking it
took
and
that
looking at-
DVD and went, and put it up on
Put it up on YouTube.
on the
then
internet.
and
Yeah.
it spawned tens of thousands of pages of fan fiction where
Oh my
people were
gosh.
writing about this couple, because you never saw that on network television.
And
Wow.
then through our other stuff that we did, Three Way and Cowgirl Up and stuff like that, we would get these fans saying, well, what about Nikki and Nora? They're like, well, that was back in 04. We're not going to do it again. We're like, okay. But these past few years when crowdfunding became a possibility, we said, well, the actresses are in, we're here in New Orleans, why don't we do it? So
and
we held off
time
and
had
did it.
passed too, and all the rights sort of came back to me, so I didn't,
Right.
we didn't have any of
But
those
it's so
network
good,
issues.
actually. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting right here and, I'm half drunk, but it really...
I'll take that
It
compliment,
really
however
is.
it
comes
It
out.
really is good. I mean, it's really well shot. It's well acted.
Yeah, we're really proud of
and the
it.
writing is
Thank
obviously
you.
good. You're an
Thank you.
Emmy-winning screenwriter, for
That
God's
doesn't
sake.
mean anything, that,
It doesn't
right?
mean crap.
It's
But it really, the shows, I mean, you wouldn't know just because it's online, it's on the
Right.
web only, it's not on TV. It's better than stuff you see on television. I mean, it's shot, really.
Thank you.
think
How did
so.
you
Proud
have
of y'all.
fo-
Check it
Yeah.
out.
How'd
I think
you-
you
Good
guys-
as,
I
at
think you'll
least.
dig it. First of all, it's a love letter to New Orleans too. I mean,
Nice.
we just
It's two
it's-
chicks who are kicking ass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
that's
they're
what it
hot
is.
and they're
Yeah.
running
Yeah,
around the
they're
streets
very
of New
hot.
Orleans.
Solve
It's great.
crimes, man. What do you want?
Yeah,
They're
it's
hot.
really
Who cares if they
interesting.
solve anything? Really.
Coming back all these years later with YouTube, the internet, and crowdfunding, it really is almost a true on-demand, because
Absolutely.
it's going to only get made if there's demand for it,
Yep.
and that
Right.
people now don't have that filter, and they can go in and really express, hey, we want this. Oh, can you do this? Oh, okay, sure. But yeah, I mean,
They
it's
can
from there.
demand.
Yeah.
I mean, with network television, you can write a letter to your network, which probably won't get read. I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but there's no
get read by
direct
somebody.
way. It'll get read by
That's the
somebody.
network that she's not going to work for
Well, you
again.
can't go out and
The other one, she's cool.
Yet to be named.
exactly. But you can't go out and buy more P&G products to get them to put your show on the air. It's not direct like that. There's a whole big giant system in place. And the way it is now, it's becoming more and more direct. People actually have a voice, and they can go, you know what, I'm going to give $5. I'm going to give $500. I'm going to give $5,000 because I want to get my content on the air. I like what you people
Hey,
are
how
doing.
are people finding it? I mean, when you watch TV, you turn it on and you go, okay, that sucks,
Right.
and then you watch it anyway. But in this system, how are you finding your audience?
Through viral media, really. Through Twitter, through
Through the fans that kept it alive.
The fans
honestly.
that- and
So it's
we
just
have
word of
this
mouth.
whole-
You don't have a marketing.
It's the Family Guy
Well,
effect.
yeah, the Telefilms has their own PR and marketing department, and they're taking
But we
a
don't
look
have
right at you.
I know,
radio
right?
spots. We don't have TV
No, we don't
spots.
do that. We actually are sort of marketing to the people we know how to find it that way. We roll out a new episode every Sunday, 11 o'clock Pacific time. At 11:30, after we've given everybody a chance to watch the episode, the cast and the crew and the writers all get online, and we do a live tweet talking about the episode, and
It's
that's
really
building
fun.
a lot of.
So
really
11
fun.
a.m. on a Sunday morning.
1 a.m.
1
1 p.m. your
here.
time.
1 p.m.
Here.
here in New Orleans. On a Sundays, we can log on to what?
You just get on your Twitter.
Just get on Twitter and look
And
for...
you look for at Nikki and Nora.
Well,
So
the
we have to
idea
follow you on
is
Twitter.
Right.
You watch the program, you
Watch
watch
the show.
the episode,
Right.
which is about 10 to 12 minutes long because we've chunked them up into portions, and watch that at 1 o'clock. And then at 1:30, anybody from our side who's able to show up does. And we tweet about it, and it's goofing on stuff. It's stuff that people loved, that they'll quote, questions that they have.
And a chance
you
to
know.
talk to the actors, which I think is
Yeah,
huge.
little behind-the-scenes tidbits. You really feel like you're a part of
Plus
a
you
part
got-
of it.
plus you
I
got
love
food.
that because especially after the content air, the original piece of content, it's
Right.
almost become like the review of the content has become
Yeah.
its own show. So you look at shows like Walking Dead and
It's
Talking
true.
Dead.
Talking
Absolutely
Dead.
The
That's
true.
second show is just as big as the first
More
show.
traction
is.
after the fact. Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very meta. It's interesting too. Plus, we did some homages to the original episodes, so the diehards are like, oh, that was from the first one.
And we did that on purpose because we want to, we want to give it back to those people
They
who've
paid
been
for it.
who've been there, pushing for us the whole
So
time.
you guys live together and write together.
Yes.
That must be a pretty
Sometimes,
close...
not all the time.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
So you sometimes you go to your own room in the house and
Oh,
write, and then come have lunch
definitely,
together. And
Definitely.
how cool is that? What a great life!
Definitely.
Hey, look out for the equipment.
Sorry.
Punch the
That's a
microphone.
$3 microphone. It's whacking into you. That's a pretty exciting life you have. Now you're married as well. Does it feel
Yeah.
different being married now that you got married?
I think so.
Yeah, it
I
does.
definitely think so.
I'm very sort of cynical about the whole idea of, or I was, of marriage in general, and I didn't think it would feel different, but it did. It was really.
In what way does it feel different? Just so people listening. Let's for Reid's benefit.
I was going to say I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Now. What's coming?
It feels
I know, right?
solid. It feels there's a solidity to it. There's a comfort to it. There's it's really
Kind of
interesting.
like Irma Thomas and her "I Got Papers on You."
Yo, yeah, that's it.
Well,
It's
also
true.
we weren't allowed to,
Mm-hmm.
and the significance of that and the importance of that was a heavy
Well,
weight
let's
for
get
us,
on to
you
that
know.
subject because the Supreme Court of the United States says that it's constitutional for you to be married
Which
to
is
each
why
other.
we can file our federal taxes together this year.
Wow, it's
We just
joint.
can't
File jointly.
We just can't file the state taxes
Well,
together.
what happens in Louisiana? Are you because here, the state says that you're not married, right?
Correct.
So
see-
what wins there? Because
Well, they have to obviously federally they can't block us. We can file jointly with the feds, and they have to.
but are
honor
you
that.
recognized as married by the state?
No,
We're
Or the
not.
s-
No.
No.
The
We're
real
not.
issue here comes in
It's gonna
property
fall
rights
very soon,
and
I
also the rights of spouse and medical decisions,
That's
things
right.
like that. So it's really more the legal side of it. And so the real thing in this whole debate, especially in a state like Louisiana, or even if Louisiana recognized it and say Texas didn't, is that you can find yourself in a situation where you don't have any of the rights and privileges that come with a legal union, that forming that
Right.
entity of marriage, kind of a corporation between people that you find in the rest of the country. And so that the more famous cases would be people being kicked out of their home for 30 years because
Yes.
they don't own it anymore
Right.
when they
Yeah.
die.
And this
They
state,
do that.
That's just
more than
heartbreaking.
any other state,
Yeah.
needs to recognize marriage because the laws here are crazy about your property and your life.
Was anybody
It's
here a lawyer?
insane.
Drew, are you a lawyer?
No, I'm not.
Well, I guess you need to know something about the law if you're going to be a politician or legislator now. But
Apparently
so-
not, because I mean.
Oh no!
that's
Don't
really-
worry about that. Okay. Well, this is a stupid question. But doesn't the federal law supersede the state's law?
It does not, but we're finding
doesn't.
that no, it does not. But we're finding that the states are falling right now, and they're falling
Right.
in accord. You're watching everybody sort of say, well, if we haven't designated a man and a woman in our, in the laws of that state, everybody's starting to walk in and say, well, since you're not identifying as a man and woman, then you can no longer block same-sex marriages.
I've
And
been
that's what's
predicting for
happening
a
in
while.
states around
Yeah,
the state.
I've been predicting for about 10 years that what's really going to end up happening eventually is if they push it too far, that if it really goes to the Supreme Court and our Supreme Court justices really, do hold to we're a purist of the Constitution, that if this whole marriage thing gets that far, what has to go in the, marriage between man and woman and all that, that likely the only outcome I can see would be that the United States has to say, okay, well, you know what, government cannot recognize any religious right, so that religious marriage becomes a religious thing, and that then you have civil unions, joint domicile, all the things, that legal entity thing, because really there's nothing that allows us within the Constitution, especially with the Establishment Clause and all that, to recognize one religious ideology over another. You
Right.
can
I
recognize
think
them all
that's
day
what-
long, but yeah.
That seems to be the logical
It
end
will, but I think
of
it's
it.
going to happen faster than
Yeah,
that.
I think
A
Utah's going to
twofold
do it
union.
basically for us.
I'll tell
Yeah,
you what's going to
which
happen.
is ironic.
The next time that somebody,
Yeah, it's
the
been
next
great,
time,
right?
I know, I love that. It makes me so happy. The next time that somebody brings
Utah's
the
a
case to the
wonderful
state.
Supreme
Prop 8
Court,
now.
though, I know.
But hang on a sec, I'm lost here. I thought the Supreme Court already heard this.
They did, and
case.
see, but that's why I think it's going to happen faster. And the Supreme Court actually gave every state in the union the actual track, the policy to go in and say to overturn it. So I think the next time it goes to the Supreme Court, it will everybody.
But it has
all
to
the
be.
states will
It has
fall.
to come from the states, or
Yeah.
else it
It
becomes a
has to be the
huge
states.
states' rights.
It's about the wording of the lawsuits, and really the one in Utah, if it gets to the higher levels, it's about equal protection, and that's really where the federal stuff comes in. Whereas the first one that went and really kind of made the case, they were really crafty because they put a financial case forward, something with taxes and the death tax and
Yes,
inheritance,
yes.
things
Right.
Republicans couldn't argue against.
The New York case, right?
So yeah, and so
Yeah.
basically there was no way to argue against the mechanism they were fighting.
And you're saying this as a Republican.
As a Republican, yes. As a gay Republican or a Republican who's gay, whatever. But the whole thing is that it comes to a point they knew there was no way to throw that out there and to be opposed to one side of it without being hypocritical on the other. So
Right.
they gauged it very well. So it was something that even when you have Supreme Court justices who are less than Supreme Courty, they really had
That's a
to come
technical
down.
term.
with
That's a
that.
technical term, I think.
Yeah,
right.
as a linguist, that is actually
Chalk
the
it over my
word
head,
that's
man.
used
So
during
you're,
this
you're a
period.
linguist.
Recording.
Did you say that you're a gay Republican?
Yes.
So that would make you in Orleans Parish, except gay would blank out Republican, I would think.
You'd be surprised in Orleans Parish. Gay doesn't
Really?
block- th-
Lot-
gay doesn't
Gay
blank
doesn't
out much
make
of
it-
anything. No.
It doesn't.
No, New
I would
Orleans-
think
Does that
because
make
no
you
one's
love
going to vote
Orleans?
for
Orleans
Republican.
has always
Gay
been
doesn't.
gay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gay
New
doesn't even
Orleans
blank
is so
out preacher here. I mean, it's yeah.
But no one's going to vote for Republican here if they see that R after your name, are they?
Oh,
Unless-
I
Some
disagree.
will, some won't.
Well, and that's actually that's how we kind of ended up in this situation. Is that Drew and I were both the only two Republicans in the entire city council race.
You're not a married couple as well, are
No,
are you?
Drew and I just met through the
That would be
candidacy,
really
so-
hilarious
I
if
was
you
gonna
ended
say-
up being a
Grinder,
I
actually.
almost asked that earlier.
Grinder.
That would have been a real
I
coup.
kind of feel like
Guys.
I'm the random straight guy here.
You're the token straight guy.
Man.
But it does feel. I don't think the R after the candidate's name necessarily would make me not vote for the candidate, because I think the parties have gotten so polarized and
Yeah.
it's become such a playground fight. And it's like, oh, you're doing that. I'm
At the
absolutely
local level, it
against
has
that.
very, very little relevance.
Right.
And I tell you, the biggest
level, yeah.
challenge having the R really has been, one, not when you get in front of an audience to talk, that it's about listening to the person, but as they say, having an R or a red label in a blue town, the trick is getting to the audiences. And within this election, it's been quite a bit of the calling around going, is there anything going on today? Because
one
everyone else
invites
is
you.
going like, why aren't you at blankety blank? I'm like, what is that?
That's
And,
Reid. Reid
yeah.
screwed that up by not finding out about
Yeah.
that for you. But
Yeah.
what's that guy, Congressman Ahn did it? What was his name? Ahn Gao?
Just Gal, yeah.
Chairman Gao. He was elected as a
Did
Republican.
you say Chairman Gal?
That's what I he got
right.
he got elected here, and he ran against Bill Jefferson, of course, which
Yes.
probably anyone was going to win against Bill Jefferson. But
Well,
still, he did
yeah.
get elected though.
He did get elected, and I
So
think,
you could do it. Let's get back.
yeah.
Let's get real here. You could get elected if you actually can deliver on knocking $300 off my Entergy bill
Heck yeah.
every month.
Well-
God damn it, who wouldn't vote for you?
That would be a very good thing, yeah.
So how can you get the message out? We got both our listeners will
Well,
vote for you. I,
I think
guarantee.
yeah, exactly. The first
got
plan
ours
was to come
today.
here and
Yeah.
drink some free alcohol and talk
Yeah.
to whoever's listening.
The
But
worst kind of interview. With
yeah,
free alcohol.
exactly. I think the real trick is to be very, very, very loud and say things that.
No, but come on, Drew.
Yeah, you put it
seriously,
down.
come on. How? I mean, I know we've had a couple of drinks here, but even so, how are you going to convince? Even if you got elected, say you got elected, how are you going to convince the rest of the city council or the city or whoever runs Entergy or whatever to change the whole system here?
Because the numbers are that skewed and that obvious. And really, the
So
trick
once
is
you
not,
make the
yeah.
point, people
Yeah.
are going to just
I
see the
think what's-
logic.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw your face when he said it, I
Right.
went,
Right.
okay, that's it. As soon as people
Yeah.
discover that that's what's happening, it's going to erode.
Right.
It will happen.
Well, I mean, look
You know.
at Stacey Head 5 years ago. You know, when she was still kind of the.
I
mean,
think
she
she's
is-
still good looking.
Oh, absolutely. You know, but
What
she,
do you mean 5 years
But you know,
ago?
no,
Was
no, I
that
mean,
the
five,
debate?
Great.
5 years ago, she brought that placard to the city council meeting and just raised all kinds of ruckus because she was like, "Look, here's the number that we're paying. Here's what Jefferson Parish is
Right.
paying. Why on earth are these? This is twice the number here.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. We have, you know,
Right.
so."
What number was on the placard?
That was, I think, the sewage and water board prices between Jeff Parish and Orleans. If you go from,
my sewage and water board bill didn't go down. Did yours?
No, it hasn't. But I tell you, it's and it's actually going up quite a bit. She did try to fight that, but
she didn't succeed.
However, we can reverse that because the sewage and water board, because of property taxes. And I tell you, in Orleans
if you
Parish,
can get the property taxes
this
down.
is the big thing, and this is where you can. I've been saying that here in this.
Okay,
this
here you
election,
go. I'm going to vote for you right now. If you, I'm going to deliver 3 votes right at this table.
Yep.
If you can tell me now that we're going to get our property taxes reduced.
We will get our property taxes reduced, and and honestly, we can go to the cemetery because I hear in New Orleans that's prime voters. Lafayette number 1, number 2. I mean, hey,
just don't paint them. Don't paint them.
Right. Exactly.
We're watching.
In New Orleans, the numbers are very, very skewed, and it's a cumulative effect of 100-something years of someone at the state level passing exemptions to different things that we have to deal with at the local level. Now, back when a lot of these were done, they were at the legislative level giving exemptions for taxes for things that were paid for at the state level, roads and all that sort of stuff. Well, down here now, the shift has gone so that almost everything that runs a city or a parish is done at the local level.
Okay.
Most cities in the country get most of their tax revenue off of sales taxes and a little bit off of property taxes and different things here. We get almost 70% of our income off the residents who live here. So
70%.
70%. So the sales taxes mostly come from the tourists, and they mostly pay for tourist things. And most things, we don't have a lot of shopping here in New Orleans. It's retail. Most of our shopping is food related, especially groceries. You don't really pay local taxes on groceries. So, really, we give most of our actual household goods type shopping to Jefferson Parish, and John Young is really appreciative of that.
Right.
That's not necessarily going to change in the short term, but the good part is that we do get a little bit of benefit out of this because since most of the sales taxes pay for touristy things, the one benefit we do get is that the bulk of RTA funding comes from sales taxes. So we would not be able to have the streetcars and buses and all that, especially at the rate we do now, if it weren't for that. Because only, I think, $16 million of their funding actually comes from the fares you pay. The bulk of our stuff here, though, comes from property taxes, are the biggest chunk, then service fees, and that includes your garbage pickup. Mayor Landry was bragging that
we're paying for that separately.
Well, but I'm
paying
$12
or
Don't get me
something.
started.
No, you're
no
paying 24.
recycling. Okay, I want to.
You're paying 24, and that's the whole thing.
24, sorry.
Recently, Mayor Landry said, "Hey guys, we did a good thing. We negotiated with Richards and Metro, and we're going to do it for the next 3 years, $16 a household."
You mean we drove out Sidney Torres? Is that what you meant?
Apparently, yeah. But if you go on to your bill that comes through Sewage and Water Board, you're paying $24 per household, $8. No
For
big deal,
garbage
right?
pickup only.
And they're
Yep.
not
Not to
taking
flush the
my
toilet.
glass.
But
Sorry.
I'm
so cranky about
they're-
That's not recycling.
They're
That's
not
a whole
really
other
pleasant
issue.
about it, yeah.
It's not-
Sorry, we're transplants from California. That
but
just
no,
really
it's
sticks in my garage.
it's for everybody here. We used to have a lot of that stuff too, but the whole thing is that it's not the $8. It's the fact that we have a $16 service that's provided by contractors. In other words, and that is the biggest contract in all of New Orleans. In other words, we pay this money out to somebody. They handle everything. We don't do anything with it. Yet there's a 50% markup per household. So when you figure, don't think about it as $8. Think of it as a 50% markup. Now, if I wanted to take this nice $12.49 bottle of wine and sell it to you for $18, still a good deal. But you're
price
probably
point.
going
Still beyond the
to
Reid's estimate.
right, yeah.
Yes.
But you're probably going to go ahead and say no thanks and go over to Pearl and buy it for $12.
Right.
We don't get that option. So the whole thing is that they're making again 50% off something they don't do anything
Who's
for.
making this money?
City.
So the city's making
General
a
fund.
fortune
What
out
are
of
they doing with it?
out of the Entergy
They're not
bill. They're
fixing
making
the road.
$300
Entergy
a
bill,
month.
Cox bill, AT&T
The
bill,
Cox bill, AT&T
Sewage
bill,
and
the
Water
Sewage
Board.
and Water Board bill.
When you think about Sewage and Water Board, most people here thinking you guys are probably the same, that this doubling of the Sewage and Water Board rates, our bills basically, are to pay for new pipes. We need new pipes, right?
Okay.
It doesn't actually pay for new pipes.
Hmm.
If you read the proposal that was put forth, this billion and I think 1.7 billion or whatever it is that it produces over the course of the time period they're doubling it, was actually meant to, quote, pay for expected future increases in operating and like logistic costs. Basically, currently the Sewage and Water Board spends around 30% of their budget on administrative and clerical workers, and especially the executive level. Their recent.
Okay, we're getting bogged down a lot.
So
of
wait,
Well,
detail.
but
so
the whole thing with I'm saying is
Tell us
that
how you're going to get
basically-
elected.
Well, because I'm going to tell people like you guys that with Sewage and Water Board, 30% of their budget was going to personnel that were not actually fixing pipes.
Right.
And they had $100 million a year surplus for 10 years. and then they asked you for $1 billion.
$110 million surplus. I thought we're running out of money and they have to jack our rates up.
That's just it.
100%.
But those numbers were all out there. And so they doubled it, and that doesn't actually pay for the pipes. We still need another $3.4 billion to get new pipes. We haven't found that money yet. Same thing. So, you're paying
Keep
more
digging.
for what? And that's the whole thing. So really, this is about, as far as how do we convince people, I just have to tell people and show you that it's out there.
But are you the right
Yeah.
messenger? Are they believing you? I mean, why aren't you on the on the news every night?
Good question. And if
the
you will
front
call
page
up,
of the Advocate.
if you will call up the Times Pick and other places that are seemingly not covering District A's race, I'd be glad.
Yeah, I
to
would say
find
that's
out.
probably
Reid
that's
is
probably
the man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the big thing. Is it
Yeah.
what you, and I'm just going to toot his horn for a second. When you check out
Like
like
in
the
gay
Advocate
marriage
articles,
shenanigans.
yeah,
Yeah.
like lots of tooting over here.
You want a double
when
date?
when you read the Advocate.
Sorry.
I'm lost. I'm off.
When you read the Advocate,
so
you're
we read the
saying.
Advocate. You
Yeah.
read the Times Pick. They've been very, very supportive of Drew. But the thing about it is nobody's covering District A. Just I guess because we're
Because
the
they
quiet
think
district.
Susan Guidry's going to win. And
Everybody kind of
by
assumes
the
that
time
there's
a lot
an
of people are
incumbent's gonna
listening
win.
to this podcast, because people listen to this for God only knows how long after we've recorded it, sometimes
right.
years later,
But that
you're
actually
going
speaks
to
to-
either
yeah.
be the mayor of the city or you're going to have lost.
Oh, I hope I'm not the mayor of the city.
My
My goal is to have. I want to have 2 terms in City Hall to change everything the way that it needs to be, so that New Orleanians are no longer relegated to the role of spectator in their own city while someone else rebuilds it for someone else. And then I want to look for the day where I can say, guys, good job, go to hell, I'm going home. And live in a city, though, that is not broken and perpetually broken. Because when it all comes
Right.
down to it, I got some sort of flack and press for saying when on my first forum that they asked all the candidates, what are your top 3 priorities in your district? And for each one, I was the last person to speak. It went down the line: roads, education, crime, education, jobs. Crime, education, roads, street light, but those all in the sign. And when it got to me, I just said, okay, well, number 1, poverty; number 2, poverty; and number 3, poverty. Because at the end of the day, everything else we're trying to fix, especially when it comes to crime, education, all that.
They're all Democrats and you're the Republican.
It's really crazy,
Right.
isn't it?
Right.
That is
I just-
weird.
That is
Yeah, well,
weird.
that's
What's
what-
funny is that's actually how he and I kind of found common ground. Well,
Yeah.
We kind of knew that we would be splitting the Republican votes. One of us was going to have to step down. Well, when we got to the subject of poverty, that's kind of
Hey,
was the
how did you
equalizer.
decide which one was going to step down? Did you have toss a coin or have a fight?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Leg
arm
wrestle.
Thunderdome.
Indian
actually.
wrestling. Thunderdome. Awesome.
How did you decide that, really? How did you decide which would be the best candidate?
Well, I think the biggest
He's
part.
probably actually the best candidate.
Ah.
Just 'cause- no, when you think
Look
about
at
it,
this
from,
guy.
No, from a politician
Seriously,
standpoint,
get a
I mean,
Yeah.
He's got the top.
big old country boy here, from the coast.
Both
He
colors.
played
are you,
Mississippi
where are you
State and all
from?
that,
You
but-
played at Mississippi State?
Well, but I did. I played football at Mississippi State.
What
Yeah.
position was it?
Outside linebacker.
Really?
Yeah.
Translation: He's a Republican. He fits
Yeah.
the mold and did that.
He does.
But
But Drew's actually got something I'm a little jealous of. He's actually retired military. So
That's very good.
So, yeah,
Retired military.
Well,
What did you do in the
well,
military?
what's really funny because from a guy standpoint, when you get to a certain year of age, you kind of have to pick. You either are gonna play sports or you're gonna go into the military. That there's a third option now, of course. But for the longest time, that was
What's the third
If you're a
option?
good good Southern man, that was you picked one or two.
Is that
And
right?
So,
Really?
Well, I mean,
Is that how you grew up? Where did you grow up? In Mississippi?
I grew up on the coast, so I grew up an hour away from out of New Orleans. So all my family's here.
Where-
in
where is
New
that?
Louisiana, Pascal-Christian.
Pascal-Christian. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Drew? Where'd you grow up?
I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana. It's about 2.5 hours from here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But,
When did you move down to New Orleans?
I moved down here after the Army, so 2003. Went to Tulane and all that. So
What did you do in the Army?
all kinds of things, mostly IT security and various things that require you to jump out of a helicopter and do things that you can't figure out how to put on your resume. But, I have figured out, though, for years I've said, where am I going to figure out how to, on my resume, I have these skills. I can go, troubleshoot, find problems, and set up teams to fix them while getting shot at. And then I said, you know what?
Politics.
I'm running
New
for politics
Orleans.
in New Orleans.
Yes,
and that's
that's
the,
New
hey,
Orleans,
that's,
especially.
That
this
should
is
be
it.
your. That should be your TV
troubleshoot.
spot.
It took
And
me
shoot.
10 years to find a place to apply those skills.
That's the TV. Are you making a TV spot for him, Reid?
Actually, no, we're not. Everything's been kind of grassroots at the moment. It's
What about-
funny. February 1st is the election, and
You should put a camera
this
on
will
it
be
and follow him around.
this will be an entirely
know.
new race once February 2nd
Right.
hits. It will be an
Because
entirely new race.
because it'll be a runoff. You mean? or
Right,
something.
exactly. And we get to talk about more issues.
So how many people are running in the
Currently,
first
there are
round?
there are 4
Five-
people
five
running
candidates.
against her. I think.
So it's
Yeah,
the
four
incumbent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is
the
the
incumbent,
incumbent-
and then 4 people. Yeah, and so the
Are any of them
interesting thing-
serious contenders?
Well, I hope I am.
I mean, other than you.
Yeah, I'm I'm not sure. I think that Jason Coleman is probably got the best chance as far as everyone else. I think the issue, though, is that regardless of chances and regardless of what they're doing, every single person running against the incumbent is running for a passionate reason because they want to see something change, and they're really fighting, and they're fighting with all their might to get a message out there. And I think as long as it's happening, we win. And so, especially, I don't necessarily think maybe only one of us can get to a runoff, obviously, and get take on the candidate. But at the same time, just the fact that we have people willing to fight and get out there is great. And I tell you that the experience I've had, and I think the experience Reid encountered too, is that when he said grassroots, what that means in Republican speak is broke. And so, people think of politics, and they think, especially when you're a Republican, that you have lots of money and you come into everything like that. Personally, I had to give up my income for 6 months or whatever, and you really kind of
What were you doing?
broke.
You were a linguist.
Well, see, I'm not.
How much of an income could you
I'm a
even
linguist
get?
and I'm also a writer, but I'm not the sexy kind of writer where people say, "Oh, you do screenplays." Let me tell you about it. I am the kind of writer that says I write grammar books, and they say, "Oh."
No, are you kidding?
And
No,
then-
that's
I've just seen
awesome.
someone over there I
That's
know.
the
Excuse me.
best.
No, exactly.
You write
so-
grammar books.
Tell me about that Oxford comma.
How many grammar books are there out there? I mean, how many necessary is it to rewrite the grammar?
There are
book?
too many of them. They're what I do more than anything else. My specialty is the English language, which is weird in linguistics. But it's the single most commonly taught language in the world, both as a primary language and a secondary language. So I don't see why it doesn't need to get the focus. But if you remember when you were in school and your second grade, third grade teacher was telling you, "Hey, open your grammar books. Now here's the rule, and these are the exceptions to the rule." Well, I get rid of the exceptions because if anyone who ever remembers any kind of science class and you studied scientific method, if you have exceptions to your rule, or if your rule doesn't work 100% of the time, the answer is always, well, you got it wrong. Go back and try again.
So you're a really sort of contrary kind of thinker.
Well, same to you, man.
Well, you've got all
Very
these
black
you've
and
got all
white.
these sort of counterpoint theories about everything, like the sewage and water board and the Entergy and even grammar.
Well, I look for patterns, and I can't help but do that because of the field I'm in. If you spend years at a time staring at 1,000-year-old biblical texts in different languages to look for something you don't even know what you're looking for, you're just looking to see. It doesn't take very long to be able to search things out on Google and find the patterns. And in New Orleans, the patterns are all there. The money's being wasted.
You seem to be
on that.
overqualified for this thing.
Well,
You seem. I mean, the more that you
Yeah,
talk, the
I-
more so you sound sort of like a genius. Are you super smart? Did you go to like a fancy Ivy League school or anything?
I went to Tulane. I mean,
That's pretty good.
Ivy
Yeah,
League is
I
tough.
went to Harvard for a little while, but it took a hurricane to get me there.
You went to
so-
Harvard.
But that was
Oh, you got
like
kicked because of you had.
for Katrina. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but again, I
But
don't
still,
think
you can still say you went to Harvard.
I
That's not
can, but at the same time, I have to pin that with it took
Right.
the largest natural disaster in American history to get me there. So I mean, there's some split sides to it, but I don't think any really where you go to school or anything else really matters so much. And I think really the answers in New Orleans, the data, everything, it's simple, and it's there to find it. The whole point though is that there's been a lot of people who, even if they were well-meaning when they ran for office, got in there, got comfortable, and maybe they weren't that interested in finding it anymore.
Yeah, but when you're talking about getting into office with a revolutionary idea like getting rid of halving our utility bill and halving our property taxes,
Actually, more
where's
than half.
where's the money all going to come from to run the city?
Well, when you look at our property taxes, that's the biggest thing because currently over 65% of the property in New Orleans is exempt from taxation.
Is that right? Over 65%.
How can we get that?
Really, seriously.
Yeah.
You form a nonprofit, and New Orleans, we got some two weird things that you hear here. We hear one that that we have
MyHeartProductions.org.
Yeah.
DrewWard.org. Come on. And so we have a situation here where, especially post Katrina, one, the city, the local government is supposed to be the facilitator of the economy, but they are the biggest economic sector themselves here.
The
and
city
then
itself.
The city itself. The second sector beyond that, and this is before we get to the port and movies and everything else like that, is what they call the nonprofit industry. These are two words that are not supposed to go together.
The nonprofit
And,
industry.
Yeah, these two things shouldn't be in the same sentence. And we have basically a fleet of nonprofits, well-meaning people that set them up, well-meaning people here that are working with them, but we have a lot of nonprofits that exist to deal with the results of poverty and the effects of it, and they treat different things, but we're in a situation where there's so much that's taken out of the tax base because of the nonprofit status that much of the poverty wouldn't exist in the first place if they were not exempted.
Wow,
And so,
what a great conundrum that is.
So the real question in this, and the real people who have to decide what they want, are not so much the voters and not so much anybody else. It's the people making $80,000 a year running a nonprofit who have to decide if
well,
their job's worth more than
Okay,
their
so
mission.
presumably, this is a tough question for you, but you know their names, I assume, right? I mean, they must be registered.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
So
numbers
why
all
don't we
around
list
you.
their names? Why don't we buy an ad in the Times-Picayune, the Advocate, or whatever,
they're
and
all
list
out
the
here.
names of these people who need to be
I mean, it's all around
run
you.
out of the town?
Well, they doesn't mean run out of town, but they should
Well, out of
define
the
their
job.
place.
Well, who are they? I mean, do you know who they are?
The biggest, okay, I'll tell you, the biggest exempted property owner in the parish is Tulane. The next biggest is the Archdiocese.
Why should Tulane be exempt from paying property taxes?
Good question.
What's the reason? Because it's an educational institution.
Yeah.
They're charging $60,000 a student
Yep.
to go there. All
But-
these kids you see running around
Yeah.
are paying
It's not a
$60,000.
nonprofit.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly. Well,
for-profit.
and even beyond that,
No, it's not a non-profit, but it's an educational institution. So maybe that.
yeah. Well, and there are lots of there are
exempts
different
it.
exemptions, and they come from different places. Tulane's is a particular one that comes from it having originally been the primary university that was state-owned. But when it comes down to it, even there's one revelation that people are not aware of that's coming after the election, and so I'll go ahead and put it out there.
Armageddon.
Yes, because the
the
reason
seven
this
seals.
Armageddon is coming is because that if you look at the state constitution, I think it's chapter 7, maybe the one that actually, or Article 7 that actually that lays out exemptions and things like that.
Legalize marijuana.
With that,
Woo!
apparently,
Okay.
hey, even
Now
Bobby
we're
Jindal was
talking.
talking
Now
about
we're
lighting one up
talking,
earlier.
that's right.
So, but the thing
Is
is,
he
though,
really?
that
Just
trying to
yeah,
liven
he
it up
was
a little
earlier
bit.
a little bit, yeah. So, I mean, but the
So
thing
not
about
a
that is,
Republican.
you know, the really weird part is that if you look at the law, we actually have legalized medical marijuana in New Orleans already, but it's just nobody's been acting on it. But in
Where do we buy
it's,
it?
It's on the books and been there for years, and there's actually even the state pharmacy board has directives on how to deal
This
with
guy
it.
is the
Why are
best.
we opening
This
the
guy's the best
shop?
guy. We need to hang out with him.
Font.
All you have to do
That
is
our
read,
next
guys. It's there.
business.
But
Are we
do.
crazy?
but the real thing though is that the
My
tax
heart,
assessor is
MER.
directed by the Constitution, though, that only when it comes to exempt purposes, churches,
Mary.
religious activities, businesses.
Okay, what's the
all that-
tsunami that's coming?
Well, the tsunami is that only those portions of property owned by an exempt entity, a nonprofit or school or something, that are used, I think it's an 80 or 85% threshold, solely for the exempt purpose. So delivering religious services, teaching students, only those portions are actually exempt from taxes. So if you look at it in these nice big churches, like say on St. Charles here, that has half a city block right next to a park or something like that, huge, really expensive property, and they have a single sanctuary that is actually, that's the only thing that's solely used for churchy things, that roughly equates to 10% of the property. So suddenly an entity that is
Okay.
exempted fully may have to pay 90% of what the taxes would be on their half city block on St. Charles.
But this is like a time bomb waiting to go
Yeah,
off
good luck
after
with
the
that.
election because
It's-
nobody wants
yeah.
to talk about it
Well,
before the election.
exactly.
except
Well,
you.
and actually, probably they just didn't want people talking. Period, because it's one of these things that it's the law and it's laid out in the Constitution. There's nothing we can do about it. It should have been happening already, and it's a thing that the law actually prescribes, so that there's nothing a city council or anybody else can do about it.
Okay, so you've
yes,
got
that-
all these incredible things to
Yeah.
say. Reid, you're the marketing guy here. Why do we have to sit around in a bar, here to why haven't we heard about this? What are you doing to get this guy out there?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say it's the same reason you haven't, you had 4 or 5 other candidates jump into the race at the very last minute. It's because no one thought that anyone was going to run against Susan Guidry and that everything it was going to, the status quo was going to stay as is. But then all of a sudden you've got this little tiny 3-day window of not, being able to be,
Yeah.
in the actual race. And all these people jumped up and they all had good reasons. And what's funny is that everybody has a platform that's entirely different, but that is all well-meaning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got one guy that is just running strictly on roads. You've got, obviously running on poverty. You've got one, all these different topics and all these things that are not being addressed. So this is one of those issues that just falls under that blanket. That's just no one's touching, no one's going to talk about. And then when it comes to a head and they have to address it, it's going to be like, oh, well, we didn't have a say in the matter. It was, this was coming anyway.
This is too big for District A, this conversation. This is a
Yeah.
mayoral
But this is the
conversation.
thing with
Yes,
New Orleans
absolutely.
that's interesting, though, is that every city council person votes on everything. Thank you. And so you have 7 people, basically, even though they're divided into 5 districts and 2 at large, but everybody votes on everything. So
Yeah.
the city is electing 7 people
Right.
to be their legislative body. And the whole thing is that there's a lot to that, but it shows a little bit in the fact that Reid was talking about, everybody hopping in last minute, the kind of really closed nature of our politics here, and the fact that people are fairly excluded from the process, both during the government, during the run-up to things and all that. And I'll tell you that, Reid and I, we were together originally on this thing running against each other, or just running, basically. We never really got to the against each other part. But also, there were 5 or 6 other people that I heard were going to run. I'd call them up and talk to them, and eventually, so they would kind of come on board too beforehand. So there was a lot of interest. And anytime you have this much interest, both before an election, especially, you have 5 people in a single race for city council, during election, it really alludes to something being more than just happy, people around. And what's really killed us more than anything in this race, and I think the other races too, is that our particular opponent, Ms. Guidry, she commissioned a poll of 600 people, private polling firm. She paid for it in June, and they handpicked 600 voters out of a 70,000 person district and said, what do you think? Do you know this person's name? And got 70% of people said, yep, we know who she is. And out of those, I think another 55 or something like that said, yeah, she's okay. And so those numbers from 6 months ago, when no one else was running, done in-house by a campaign, paid for, very small number, have been basically used by the Times Pick, Advocate, everybody since then to refer to her as safe seat, high approval rating, good numbers, and everyone else is a long shot or something like that. And so they've done more to kind of lose us the race than they win it, but at the same time, though, people are listening more despite that than instead of because it.
Yeah, and I think you've got that. New Orleans people are we're so whitewashed to all constant elections. We just voted on the bridge toll, and we just voted for a judge, and we just it's a constant election that's going on. That sounds much better when I actually get up to the mic.
Nice.
Better.
Nice. So,
Crazy
There's timber going on there.
It's crazy how that works. And it's one of those things. It's just like we are constantly hearing about it, and so we've got this election cycle of 2 months that's over the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday, and so by the time this thing finally, actually gets to the part where people are really paying attention, we've got maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're like, what's going on? What are we voting
all of a
on?
sudden, everyone's
I didn't
playing
even know there was an
catch-up.
election, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you were coming on.
And it was
the show.
set up like that. It was,
We can barely find our polling place.
Right.
Right.
I think
Seriously.
You have to start right after
What is
Christmas.
what
and
is
all that,
District
yeah.
A, in case anyone actually
District
is
A
listening to this and
starts
hasn't
at
voted?
Jefferson Avenue and the river, goes up to, I think, Fontainebleau, cuts over to Carrollton Avenue, goes up to I-10, cuts back a few blocks back toward downtown from Carrollton Avenue, then eventually gets up to Bayou St. John and goes all the way to the lake.
So in other words,
Wow,
in other words,
okay.
Uptown, Carrollton, Lakeview.
Yeah, exactly. And parts of
Simplified.
Mid-City kind of thing, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
That's very good. Okay, I'm afraid
Fascinating.
we're out of time,
right.
and we never really got onto the whole, lesbian red state. We have to do that another day, I guess.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll come
We'll
back.
be back.
Well, are you going to help?
We'd love
Drew,
to.
are you going to help Drew get elected? Because I think
Wait,
he needs
Republican, lesbian campaigners and detectives.
these two.
We
These
are
two
technically Democrats.
Technically, we are
But-
Democrats.
Technically.
But
Yeah.
if he can get our taxes knocked in half, he
Oh.
can get our electricity bill knocked
Maybe
in
I'll
half.
cross the street.
He's saying
That's
some
what-
He can
that's
make
what
it
I'm
happen.
saying.
I'll
This
cross
guy-
the street.
Hell, I'll cross
Yeah.
the street.
Okay, let's meet in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I was married to a man first. Right?
There
Wow,
you go.
really?
Yeah. Oh, whole different conversation.
Okay,
right?
let's.
Yeah.
We can stay here for another hour. Hugo doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind.
Do tell.
Hey, what would you tell him to do, though? I mean, you guys are award-winning screenwriters.
What would I tell
and,
him to
and,
do?
And Reid,
Oh, I don't-
and Reid's a marketing
doesn't need-
guy.
he doesn't need
we
my
got
advice.
like 1 minute. He does, because we need to get the message out. If this is true, if you're not just making this up and you're just crazy, if you
Look,
can
once-
really,
If I am making it up, it's a really effective spell, right?
Facebook.
I mean, really.
Yeah,
He
go-
bought into it right away.
I'm not
you
kidding.
could-
I'm not
new-
kidding.
The new
Facebook.
grassroots is social
I'm
media.
not kidding.
Go to-
Social
It
media.
was funny. I got yelled at. Well, I got trolled on a NOLA.com article because a woman had met me, and the first thing she said, "Oh yeah, I met him. He's really nice, but he thinks he's going to win this using the internet."
Yeah, I
and
was told the
I
same
really
thing.
wanted to respond. I was like, "There's no winning when you fight an internet troll." But it was one of those things. Like she was really appalled, and all I wanted to say is like, "Hey, at least you met me." There's a pretty good. There's a
Yeah.
person there.
Right,
So,
right.
So you're
but,
talking about a grassroots campaign from Facebook to.
Oh, absolutely. And Twitter, totally.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sit down and make
Yeah.
a video of yourself.
Yeah,
what's
we'll-
that site, Upworthy? They have, a couple of
We've,
guys
we've
who
done
are
a
pretty
few. We
funny.
had about 3,000 hits off of a video about the noise ordinance last week, and that actually.
Oh,
for what
was-
we were
was
told,
that y'all?
That was us, and that we were told
Dude,
that
I
probably
spread that all
actually-
over my
there you go.
Facebook.
Well, that was me and my goofy, friends doing a video there, and that
awesome.
we were told that likely probably was the reason that we went from on a Saturday having 7 city council people saying we were going to do a noise ordinance to on a Monday saying half of them going I'm on the fence to
Right.
Thursday 2 of them saying we heard this is really not a good idea.
Yeah.
And so that can get out there.
Wow.
The trick is just
Yes.
getting it
I
out
would do
there,
that for every one
Yeah.
of your issues that don't stand in accordance with everybody else's.
Right.
And
So
we'll
so
spread the
every
word.
issue, basically.
You talk where.
Okay.
It's so simple. You talk where people are listening. That's
So the
it.
candidate's name is Drew Ward, and he's running in District A. If you're living in District A, if you listen to this after the election's already over and you've already won, congratulations,
Thank
Drew.
you,
That's
man.
great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm
Congratulations,
glad that
Drew.
you won. If you didn't win, I'd like to hear what you're going to do next, actually, because you have to do something with all this information.
I'm going to keep yelling. I've gone out to enough places and met enough people, not so much in District A as much as just citywide, that need a voice and need this message to get out there, and so just as I've been asked,
I've got to get this
yelling.
message out there as well. The Pearl Wine
Buy your
Company
wine.
gave us this bottle of wine today.
Yay.
The Pearl Wine Company is at 3700 Orleans Avenue in the American Can Company building. They're open from noon till midnight every day except Sunday when they're open from noon till 8 p.m. Also, Petite Pet Dog Care. I mean, that's not true. That says Petite Pet Care. Petite Pet Care is dog walking and pet sitting and loving care when you're not there. If you want someone to look after your pet for you like you would, but you can't be there, give them a call at 309-PET or look at them on petitepetcare.com on the internet. If you're an iPhone user, check out the podcast app Swell. It's a new awesome, it is a brilliant app actually. You have to check it out. It's like Pandora but for podcasting.
That's cool.
So I'm
It
thinking
goes
like
out
a,
and
a
finds you awesome
podcast of petite
Oh, I like
lesbian
that.
dog detectives like investigating wine.
We're in.
You're on to something. I've got another great idea for a story as well.
I know
Thank you,
some- I
Drew
know some people
Ward.
that can shoot that for you.
Reid Stone as well joined us, as well as Nancylee and Paige. Bernhardt and Nancylee Myatt. What do you call yourself, Mr. and Mrs. Myatt, or Mrs. and
We
Mrs.
don't. No, we don't
Bernhardt?
really.
Or
We didn't
Mrs.
change
and
our names.
Mrs.
We're writers. We
didn't-
never change our names.
But-
Yeah, you can't.
Well, what
That's
we did is we formed a production company called My Heart.
Myatt, and the show's called Nikki
Nikki
and
and
Nora,
Nora.
Nikki and Nora, N-O-R-A.
My
Just
partner
Google
and I,
that.
Travis,
and
have
you'll
determined that the best word to use is cohort.
find- Cohort.
Cohort.
My cohort.
Good.
Okay, very nice.
Right.
Well, maybe if you guys
Slightly
get married,
devious,
you
you
can,
know.
if you guys get married, you can come on
you
again with the, we'll have the
It
married
implies
couples.
mischief.
What's another word for
exactly.
bachelor? Is there
Spinster,
No.
but that's for a woman.
That sounds
Squire.
On the
Oh,
market,
hey.
babe.
Yeah,
There
Reid
you
Stone
go.
joined us as well.
Yeah, the
Reid,
word for
thank you
bachelor
coming.
eligible is Reid Stone. R-E-I-D-S-E.
The producer of our show is
He's really
Graham DePonte.
cute,
Our
yeah.
associate, he's very handsome. Our associate producer and technical
It's
director
the
is
tie.
Chris Kehoe. Christian Owner, who booked the music on this week's show, but Chris Lee, who was supposed to be the musician on the show, didn't show up. Strangely enough. The theme song you're currently hearing was written and is being played by Mitch Foreman. The fabulous audio quality of the show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. PreSonus makes the best audio recording and live sound products you can ever buy in the whole history of the world, including Studio One music production software, Studio Live digital mixing consoles, Era Studio monitors, and much more. PreSonus.com has all the information for that. If you'd like to be on our show, you can drink a bottle of wine and a few cocktails that Hugo made. There's some sort of ice. What is that? Iced tea tequila.
It's good. So
damn
Casa
good.
Borrega,
It's really good.
Home of random good things
Yeah,
in
you
jars.
go.
Here
Drop
it
us
used to
drop
be.
us a line if you want to join us on our
Like a
show.
bag
Our
of
address is on our website. You can check out other happy hours there as well as Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti live from Commander's Palace. Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic. True to the Game with Chris True and Tammy Nelson. Vietnam, our show about the New Orleans Vietnamese community with the Vietnamese Terry Gross, Kim Vu, and Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss and the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canada. Keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media. On all of it, where It's New Orleans, you can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our Facebook page. These were taken by the fabulous Douglas Engel.
Thanks, Douglas.
If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, or Swell, or some other podcast app, thanks for subscribing. Take a moment to rate and review us. It only takes about 5 seconds. That does help other people find us. Our show is recorded live today at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard. Casa Borrega is a bar, a nightclub, and a restaurant. Check them out on Facebook and Twitter, or just come on down and take a chance. Happy Hours, a production of I&O Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, is off in LA winning a Grammy. He'll be back next week. I'm Grant Morris. Thank you so much on behalf of all of us for joining us here on Happy Hour. We'll see you back next time.
Sponge.
Sponge.
Drink.
Let's be honest, there are tons of ways to send money back home, and every company promises me the same things: good rates and safe transfers. That's why it can be overwhelming to choose a new way to send money. I switched to Remitly because I can track my money every step of the way, which means I know exactly when my mom will get her money. And with their extensive payment network, my mom can receive her money in a way that is more convenient and safe for her. You should check it out. Go to Remitly.com or download their app to get started. Remitly Inc. is a licensed money transmitter by the state of New York, California, Massachusetts, and other states.